MMA is filled with upsets.
The cloth from which he is cut. I mean, that is a dejected... Anderson.
She's in trouble.
And this is one of the greatest.
I'm happy for the guy he got this opportunity, but how does he beat Adesanya?
Israel Adesanya getting this one done.
And now Strickland's talking to him.
I think that Sean Strickland is likely going to need to bring his banana peels to the octagon.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the very first episode of MMA Analytics, the channel where we delve into statistics to analyze fight narratives and make predictions on UFC outcomes. Now, what I've just showed you is the second best upset of 2023 by none other than Sean Strickland. But, I mean, let's be honest, it doesn't hold a candle to this.
I'm obviously looking past Dricus Du Plessis, who is a dead man walking, all right? Let's just get this out of the way. He is going to get destroyed by Robert Whittaker.
Oh, he stunned him. He stunned him bad.
I think this is the fight where it finally catches up to Dricus Du Plessis, and he finally gets finished.
Leg kick.
Duplessis got Whittaker in all kinds of
Whittaker's in a
trouble.
world of trouble.
DDP is not going to be able to take down Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker is going to single-handedly stop this hype train.
Dricus Du Plessis. This is huge. Absolutely huge.
I think Robert Whittaker smokes Dricus. I think minus 410 is, yeah, it's expensive. I think it's a gift. I just, there are levels to this.
Oh! Whittaker covers up! Do you believe it? Dricus Du Plessis calls his shot!
Okay, so without further ado, let me show you why I think Dricus Du Plessis absolutely smashes Sean Strickland. And okay, maybe that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but as we get into his numbers, it's going to become quite evident as to why I think Dricus is just better, right? So obviously we look at his record. Dricus has 20 wins, 2 losses, and is currently on a 6-fight winning streak. But that's not what's impressive, right? What's impressive is sort of the way DDP is doing this, right? 19 of his 20 wins have come within the distance, right? And that's an insane rate. That's an insane pressure. As we can see, like, the only person that's even remotely comparable is Hamzat, who only finishes 85% of the time. Now, obviously, Dricus also in that 95% has a few, he's been finished twice. But I feel like it's the exact opposite of Sean Strickland, and we'll see that kind of stat a little bit later. But we can see that Dricus is a guy that puts it all out there. He is a finish or be finished kind of guy. So sort of the first narrative around Dricus that I wanted to look at was the fact that people are always saying that, oh, you know, he's got a terrible gas tank. Like, all Sean has to do is get him into the third round and it's over. And while I agree to that, a little bit, right, we have to recognize that Dricus, right, the reason Dricus does so shit in the third round is the fact that he always pushes an insane pace. I mean, if we look at the number of significant strikes attempted in round 1, we can see that Dricus always goes harder than his opponent. I mean, against Trevin Giles. No, this isn't Trevin Giles. Ugh, that's so embarrassing. Anyway, against this bum, Marcus, that's his name. Okay, DDP outstrikes him. Cool. He outstrikes Trevin Giles. Vibes. He outstrikes Brad Tavares. Okay. Wow, these are attempted strikes because I'm trying to show effort, right? It doesn't really matter how much you land. It's about how, the pressure DDP is putting on. Now, in this graphic, we can't even see where DDP is because Darren Till is a bum. And yeah. I also think that these numbers need a little bit of context in that DDP does do a lot of ground and pound. So it's kind of a little bit disingenuous. He wasn't putting on a technical kickboxing masterclass against Darren Till. But it just shows that DDP really goes for it. Okay, cool. The only man to outstrike him, Derek Brunson. Okay, whatever. It's one data point. Doesn't really matter that much. And he even goes on to outstrike Whitaker. So the conclusion we can have here is DDP pushes an insane pace in round 1. Let's go to round 2, see what the vibe is. And here we see the exact same thing. So when we get to like round 3 and potentially round 4 and round 5, right, I mean, it is valid to say that, okay, look, Dricus, he's a bum, he gets tired. But I mean, that's not necessarily the case. I mean, look at this graph. I mean, look at against Derek, 61 strikes to 101. He is pushing the pace. He's always pushing the pace. But then how does he do in the 3rd round? Okay, he's only been to the 3rd round twice, so I took an average. Okay, so DDP's average output is always higher than his opponent, regardless of if it's round 1, round 2, round 3, right? Because even though he gets tired, you are also getting tired as hell facing DDP. Okay, cool. Now, here's a graph I made showing what I like to call offensive pace, right? So we've got literally everyone in the top 10 of the middleweight division, plus their last like 3 or 4 opponents, both Sean and Dricus's, right? And so you can kind of see there is a massive, first let me explain like the axes, right? So the y-axis is strikes attempted per minute, and we can see here at the top we've got Sean Strickland, and it kind of makes sense, right? Because while Dricus does push an amazing pace, you can see he's second over there. I'll probably like circle them in post so that you can follow along. Strickland pushes the hardest strike pace, like he throws the most volume in the entire division, but at the same time on the x-axis it's takedowns attempted per minute, right? So in the octagon you're generally either trying to get a takedown or trying to get a strike, right? You're fighting. So someone like Hamzat, who also gasses, you can see, okay, he doesn't throw as many strikes as, let's say, like Costa, but he attempts way more takedowns. So obviously it makes sense that he'd get gassed quickly, right? Also, Derek Brunson attempts the most takedowns per minute in the division, and he got hella gassed against Dricus because you can see he's putting in a lot of effort. And then here in the corner, we can also see like someone who isn't trying at all, hashtag Darren Till is a bum. But you don't have to throw a lot to be successful. You see Adesanya here, he doesn't throw that many strikes. He's a counter puncher and he's very successful. But this just shows like the level of effort that people are putting in. And it shows that Dricus puts in a lot of effort. He will pressure you very heavily with strikes, and he'll also pressure you very heavily with takedown attempts, right? That's why he pushes a very high offensive pace. And yeah, so the conclusion we can get here is that Strickland pushes a high pace, but so does DDP. But yeah, okay. So now this next graph is what I like to call striking pressure. I don't know if that's the right word for it, right? And it kind of shows the difference between Strickland's striking pressure, because he has a lot, versus DDP striking pressure, right? Because DDP is very accurate, like deceptively so, right? You can see he's the 3rd most accurate striker in the division. I am a statistician, so I'm not going to lie to you and say that, Dricus is like this super amazing kickboxer. I think also a lot of his strikes come from ground and pound, and we'll like discuss that later. For example, Hamzat has such good strike accuracy because he's just fucking you up on the ground when you can't really defend yourself. So I think Strickland, yeah, he throws a lot, but brother is just throwing to throw, to be honest. Like, I mean, what is that? Like 41% strike accuracy versus Dricus's 55% strike accuracy, and they're throwing like 2 less shots per minute. Like Dricus is throwing 2 less shots. Okay, moving on to our next graphic. This is what I like to call the pitter-patter metric. Okay, so hear me out. Okay, so the x-axis, right, is the percentage of your fights that reach the third round. So if you get a KO in round 1 and round 2, like, it won't count towards that metric. So we see, like, on the high end, we've got Marvin Vettori almost at like 60% of his fights reaching the third round. And the interesting stat is Marvin Vettori, like, he is a KO first round merchant based on what I was looking at, but he's not relevant. Okay, so you kind of want to be, what does it mean to be where Strickland is, right? So the y-axis is the probability of winning past the second round. So either in the third round KO, fourth round KO, fifth round KO, or by decision, right? And we can see by that metric, Strickland is the absolute best fighter. And it makes sense, right? Because he has amazing cardio. He will keep throwing in round 3, 4, and 5, right? But the fact that he is so far on the right along the x-axis means that this guy, Sean Strickland, doesn't have the power to sort of put you away, right? And that's kind of a takeaway I want you guys to have from this video. Look at how they're on different sides of this x-axis. Dricus will not let the fight reach the third round, but Sean, on the other hand, thrives once the fight gets past the third round. So I think that is going to be the dynamic, and there'll be a graphic that I'll show later on why I 100% believe it won't get there. So I think if you're in this quadrant here, it kind of shows that, look, like, a lot of your fights get to the third round, but you're still a bum in those fights. And yeah, Marvin Vettori is just durable. So, I mean, he'll get to those last rounds, but it's not like he's winning there. But then being in this quadrant of, like, this section means that you're probably a pitter-patter kind of guy. Like, you throw a lot of strikes and you win on the judges' scorecards, right? And you're just better than the guy. But, like, who wants to watch that? Okay, cool. Okay. So now I wanted to look real quick at kind of where they're landing their strikes, like where they're throwing from, right? And it kind of confirms what we know, in that Strickland doesn't really like to utilize his wrestling or his clinch game. Like, he will stand and bang. But DDP, right, he loves the ground and pound. You know, he loves to get in, like, close, personal, dirty. We can kind of see this on the strike distribution. And the takeaway I got from this is that it is so important for DDP to get in close with Strickland, because that's where he likes to be. That's where I think he will really get the chance to dominate, because as a later graphic will show, Strickland's defense is impeccable. It is so good. I think it's the best in the division. But, you know, we'll get there. And I was going to put some footage here, but I don't want to use too much footage. But DDP always leaves his body open, and we'll, you know, investigate that in one of these graphics. But he always leaves his body open, and I worry about that. So I was looking at, does Strickland throw strikes to the body? And it typically doesn't. I think typically 13% of his career shots go to the body. But then I looked at his last fight against Adesanya, and he sent 32% of his landed strikes to Adesanya's body. So I think he can really pose a problem for Dricus there. And I was like, oh, shucks, you know, it's done for Dricus. Dricus is going to lose. But then I was like, you know what, let me look past the ugly ass form that Dricus has when he's defending, and let me look at what the stats say about how he defends body shots. Okay, so I looked at Dricus and Sean's last 6 opponents, to be fair, and the red is just the strikes that the opponent threw that landed on the body, and the green is the amount you defended. And, you know, they don't have dissimilar defense, right? So Strickland gets hit with 65% of body shots and Dricus with 68%. So even though he's I don't know what the boy is doing. Like his form looks so ugly when he's defending his head. Like the body shot is open, but nobody takes it. Like nobody takes it. So maybe Sean will take it, but who knows? And now is sort of the crux of the issue, right? Okay, we don't care about DDP's takedown defense. It's atrocious, 40%. What are you doing? Because Sean isn't that guy. He's not gonna shoot on the boy. Like he hasn't been shooting. He won't start shooting now. What's really interesting is that even though Sean has the best takedown defense in the division, right? Well, in the top 5, you know who has the second best? Rob Whittaker. And DDP was able to take him down. So I think this kind of graphic, well, after the last one, kind of will tell the story of the fight. If DDP can overcome this, because I mean he overcame Rob Whittaker. Yeah, I think Sean has genuinely no chance between the super high, incredible pace that DDP sets. The pace plus the danger. I think that's the biggest difference, right? DDP has pace plus danger. Sean just has pace. Like he has volume, but we saw that like most of his fights go past the 3rd round, and he's throwing a lot of strikes in those fights. We saw he throws a lot of strikes in those fights, and he wins a lot of them. But if you're winning by decision, you're not getting to decision against DDP. You need to finish him. You need to put him down because he has too much power, and he'll always carry that power into any given round. And with 5 rounds, I think DDP always has a puncher's chance. Okay, cool. So this is my second last graphic, and it's what I like to call defensive effect, right? So you can see that the blue is the person's career strike accuracy, right? And the green is the specific strike accuracy against Sean or DDP, right? And you can kind of see that Sean makes you miss. Like he makes you miss. The best one is the Adesanya one. Obviously, like Adesanya, normally great striker, hits 48% of his shots. However, against Strickland, he only hit 34%. And so if you take the differential, on average, if you're a 50% striker, right, Sean will make you miss 6.25% more, right? And I think that's like one of the best defenses in the entire division. We won't mention Pereira. I actually took it from his last 4 opponents just not to do him dirty. And then you look at DDP and like, his defense is also good. He made Whittaker miss like a fuckload, but it's not as good as Sean. I mean, you only miss like 3% more than usual if you're fighting against DDP. But this next graphic is the one that absolutely floored me. Look at this diamond map. Just look at it. If you fight Dricus Du Plessis, your defense on average will be 13.5% worse. This man will melt you. Okay, I looked at this. I was like, it can't be right. I ran it again. He made Rob Whittaker's defense 19% worse. So basically what this means is typically like only 40% of the shots thrown Whittaker's way will land, right? Okay, cool. And then against DDP 59% landed. And similar story for Till, similar story for Brunson, similar story for Tavares. But a lot of these strikes are landed on the ground, which is why, once again, it's all about whether or not he can replicate the overcoming 84%, overcoming 82% takedown defense from Strickland. Strickland, his offense is Peter Patter. He doesn't melt anyone. Like he only has a 1% effect. I mean, it's not real. I think I saw a stat somewhere saying that Sean what is it saying? It was saying that Sean has only been like held down for 51 seconds. So it really is best takedown defense against the best general offense in the division. And I think the gas tank is overblown. I think genuinely, if you look at the stats, okay, maybe because I'm South African, I already had like a particular tilt I wanted to put on this, but yeah, I have nothing else to say. If you guys like it, please comment and subscribe. More, I just want ideas. Like, yeah, I really I liked putting this together, and I would love to do it for more fights and more fighters. If people like it, can we get 5 likes? And I'll drop another one. Thank you.